we got to start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Breaking news hit my mailbox 3 different times, and probably Hey Dads and everybody else, and blew up on social media. We found out today that the Egg Bowl's gonna be on Thanksgiving.
I was really starting to get nervous. Like, what did I miss?
Nothing. I'm so confused. So in case you guys have been living under a rock or, actually doing your job all day, a big release happened earlier today. Big release. Again, I got 3 different emails about it. One from Ole Miss, one from State, one from CBS. I don't know. One of the sports college football national publications. The Egg Bowl is going to be played on Thanksgiving, ESPN, 6:30. Yeah. We know. Right? At least I thought.
I thought so, yeah.
Reading from Mississippi State's website today, literally today, quote, in 2023, the Thanksgiving turkey will once again come with a side of egg. Again, we knew this. The SEC announced Thursday that this year's battle for the golden egg between Mississippi State and Ole Miss will once again be contested in prime time on Thanksgiving night at Davis-Wade Stadium. It is set to be televised by ESPN at 6:30 Central Time. Didn't we know that?
So this is like what I'm trying to figure out, right? If you had said yesterday, hey, Dad, when's the Egg Bowl? And do you know what time kickoff is? I would have said Thanksgiving at 6:30. I thought we knew this. And apparently we didn't. Apparently we got Mandela affected on this one. It was just something that we thought was true that wasn't. But now it is true. So, we're back to normal. I saw this coming out. I saw the graphics being tweeted. I'm just like, I knew that.
Yeah. We all did.
I knew this game was on Thanksgiving. And I mean, maybe I didn't know for sure that it was at 6:30, but it's certainly not going to be at 11 a.m. going up against Lions and whoever they're playing. It never has been. It's always a night kickoff. Maybe it's 6, maybe it's 6:30. A lot of fuss being made about something I figure 95% of the people who care already could have told you.
I mean, we did a full 10-minute segment on this show discussing the opponents before the Egg Bowl and the benefit for Ole Miss playing Louisiana Monroe on the short week before the Thursday Egg Bowl, and the con for Mississippi State having to play Southern Miss on the short week before the Egg Bowl. That was like 6 weeks ago when we did that. I guess taking some liberties out. But yeah, the release came out today. The Egg Bowl is going to be played on Thanksgiving. 6:30 ESPN, as you probably already knew. For what it's worth, here are the NFL games that day. You probably knew this as well, but just a refresher. Packers-Lions at 11:30. A little bit more juice on that one because of Detroit. I mean, what a statement that is. That game's more interesting because of Detroit and not because of Green Bay. Commanders at Cowboys, so if you're a State fan, you'll get a nice dose of Dak before the Egg Bowl. And then 49ers Seahawks at 7:20. So that's the head-to-head game. The end of the Cowboys game, which not good for the start of the Egg Bowl. And then you have 49ers Seahawks. So you've made your spiel before. The debate, again, has been resurfaced here.
It has.
It always has. Make your case. You like Thanksgiving Egg Bowls. There's been just over 30 in the 119 playings of this rivalry on Thanksgiving night. You like it. Why?
Well, I'm just a selfish person. Let's just be totally honest. And I just doesn't bother me. I like it because I live in Starkville. I'm going to go to the game. And that means that Saturday, I just enjoy college football. The Saturday afterwards, I get up, I prepare, I start working on my Thanksgiving dinner. I feel like people get too locked in to it's got to be on Thursday. Like, you can have turkey on Saturday. It's just as good. It's just as delicious. All the fixings are so good. Most people who are off on Thursday, they're off on Saturday too. So And I get to just sit there and enjoy Michigan, Ohio State. I get to enjoy the Iron Bowl. I get to enjoy all the other rivalry games. And I'm not just sitting there like stressing over the Egg Bowl. And then I don't have to go to the game because I've already been. So just for me, all of my motivations, I'll totally admit to them, purely selfish for me. You know, I know that the exposure thing isn't real, and at least it's not anymore. Traditionally, I mean, yeah, you mentioned it's been played 30 times, but this is a series that's been played 100 times plus. So it's not like it's an every year kind of thing. But just for me, I like it on Thanksgiving.
Got the poll out there on Twitter as well. Egg Bowl, Thanksgiving Egg Bowls. Love them, hate them. Let us know on the text line, 601-879-4395. Would love for you to be a part of the show. Jeff, by the way, says, thanks for being nice, but Mississippi State isn't going to have any issue with Southern Miss. And no, I mean, Mississippi State will be a multi-score favorite in that game if you ask me what the line would be in May. But I do think playing Southern Miss is different than playing Louisiana Monroe for an in-state school. It is different. And Southern Miss is just better than Louisiana Monroe. Yeah. Defensively, they're going to be quite good again. And
they'll be motivated.
Yeah, very motivated. A lot of, why didn't you recruit me on that sideline? And that matters. I mean, that impacts people.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a game that, you know, I feel like it'll be like the last two games. You know, when they restarted the series, the first game, that was not a great USM team, and State dominated them. But the last two games have been competitive through the first half, and then State, the talent differential just takes over, and State ends up pulling away there late. Probably going to be the same thing this year. You know, they've got a superstar running back at USM and Frank Gore Jr. They've got a good defense. They'll make it interesting for a couple quarters, and then I would imagine, and that's not a slight to Southern Miss. State could be playing any Sun Belt team in this situation, and I would probably tell you the exact same thing. If they were a good enough Sun Belt team, that they could make it interesting for a couple quarters, but then State should pull away.
We should record that and see if that's exactly spot on after, of course we recorded it. Everything we say is recorded, but cut that.
We do have it on yeah.
And save it. Because
I mean, if you tell me at the half it's like 20-14 State, and then it finishes 38-20 State, that's about right.
Forbes intercepts Dak. We get on the text line prior to the Egg Bowl kickoff. Random take. Yeah, I mean that's entirely possible.
Hope it's on the jumbotron. Yeah,
that would be quite funny. Hot sauce in Madison. All right. What's up, neighbor? He says, I agree that emotionally charged game can just get out of the way by Friday morning. You can either start the letdown or have a sense of accomplishment on that Friday. I like it that way, too. Adam Monticello says, love the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. Gives me, as a State fan and my brother, an Ole Miss fan, something to bicker about while eating. Yeah, but you get Trump and DeSantis this year. So who needs the Egg Bowl? You can really make Thanksgiving a lot of fun.
Yes.
I know people that they will ban the current president's name, the vice president's name, the most popular name of the other side, if it's an election year or getting close. This year they're adding things like woke and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I mean, whoever these people are, I'm in favor.
And they will ban it all because most of the family leans one way, but there's a daughter-in-law that is very vocal in her disagreement with the family that she married into's beliefs all the time. And so they decided after she arrived, we're just not bringing it up anymore. It's just not happening.
That's smart
done.
Business.
Yes.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Don't get mad. It's another good reason the Egg Bowl's done. If you got State and Ole Miss people in the same house, the game's over. There'll be a little good-natured smack at the beginning, and then you move on to turkey.
Adam said he'd rather chew on his toes than talk about presidential elections at Thanksgiving. Me too, brother. Go. Me too. Somebody said that they just verbally screamed no. Oh, man. Like the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. However, it's hard to enjoy my meal because of the sinking pit of worry and fear that's in my stomach leading up to the game. We'll talk about this a little bit more. Do it on
Saturday.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a little bit more. We got a couple of other game times and announcements as well we'll get to when we come for the Thanksgiving Egg Bowls. I will say, Hey Dad likes it for the reasons he does. I like it, or I don't like it for the reasons I do. And neither of us are ever going to change our mind because it's a subjective thing, right? It's emotional. And you're never going to change anybody's mind. We have this debate all the time, multiple times a year, every year, and nobody's ever going to change their mind. You either love it or you hate it. I don't like it because my family's scattered all over, and I would much rather spend that time with family as opposed to having to watch a football game. There are people that are beholden to that day, or I've got friends that are in families that don't all care about the Egg Bowl. It's really only him and a couple of others, and it kind of ruins the day. And that's an important holiday for a lot of people, especially when you don't get to see your family as much as others do. So that's why I don't like it. It's just a personal preference. I would rather it be on Saturday. The exposure argument has kind of been taken away, though. If you like it on Thursday because of the increased exposure, it's not really the case anymore. The NFL's kind of ruined that by adding that third game. Now, luckily this year, it's those two West Coast teams we mentioned. So maybe your average football fan that usually gravitates towards the NFL is like, it's Seahawks-Niners. Let me check out the college football game. A few years ago when it was Saints-Falcons, that was the worst thing that could have happened to the Egg Bowl. Because your average sports fan in the Southeast is going to watch Saints-Falcons over the Egg Bowl.
Yes.
So this year it caught a break there. But the hard number...
there were those of us who had to miss Saints-Falcons because they were at the Egg Bowl.
I was double TVing it, and I confused a lot of people with my tweets. I got an angry DM that was like, why are you getting excited? I thought you're supposed to be media. I was like, dude, I'm talking about the Saints here. Like, Shy Tuttle just stiff-armed Matt Ryan through the turf.
That was that game.
That was that game. But last year, the year 2022, the Egg Bowl on Rivalry Weekend was the 15th most watched game of the weekend. Number 15. Some of the games that beat it. Kansas State. Washington State. UCLA, Cal, Arkansas, Missouri, NC State, North Carolina, Iowa State, TCU. Now, of course, some of the others that make sense, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Notre Dame, USC, the Iron Bowl, even LSU, Texas A&M makes sense because LSU won the West and, big brand, stuff like that. But when you've got UCLA, Cal in front of you by well over just over a million people, the exposure idea is kind of thrown out the window.
Silly, yeah.
And it may not make much of a difference. Like, you may draw the same number on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But you're not adding any audience on Thanksgiving anymore.
Just looking at that game, right? Let's just say 2 7-4 teams playing each other, right? When is that game getting played? It's not Florida State. Well, Florida State's going to be a top 10 team probably.
Yeah.
It's probably got more cachet than Tennessee, Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's going to be. Tennessee's going to be ranked. Kentucky, Louisville doesn't have the same cachet. Kentucky, Louisville is probably 11 a.m. Georgia Tech. Georgia might be the number one team in the nation. They'll probably be on ABC at 11 a.m. I don't know. It depends on where that game's being played, I guess. You're probably looking at and they always, at 9 o'clock, the night game is always LSU, Texas A&M. That's going to be the case. So, you're probably maybe 3 p.m., so you're on, on the SEC network around the Iron Bowl. You're hidden. You're hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. So, I think it would be a wash. I don't know if moving it to Saturday would really increase anything. It would make it more convenient for some people like me, but I don't think it would change anything in terms of exposure. But Thursday doesn't add anything anymore, thanks to Roger Goodell's greed. And by the way, the aforementioned Arkansas and Missouri, they're not going to get that treatment anymore either. So they drew 1 million more people than the Egg Bowl, but they were the only football game on. The NFL's decided to take Black Friday too. So they're going to get the same treatment, and they're going to come back down as well because Roger Goodell, in his infinite greed, which is what the owners want him to have, has decided, I'm taking that day too.
Another thing to consider in all this is that next year, Texas A&M is going to get a big slot, right? that might go back to Thanksgiving. It was on Thanksgiving for a long time when that game was being played. Could totally see that being the Thanksgiving game, and State Ole Miss may go back to Saturday. So we'll see.
Mike makes a good point, and last year is a good example. He said Thanksgiving itself is not the issue for me. He said it's just another Thursday. My problem is playing on any Thursday, unless you are coming off of a bye, it puts both teams at a disadvantage. And look at who Ole Miss played versus who Mississippi State played before the Egg Bowl last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that
this year
had
it's a
to
little
have
different,
mattered.
but yeah.
To some degree, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, to some degree for sure, but I mean, State had Rodgers and the starters into like early third quarter. So it's not like they just sat them the whole game.
Right.
But at the same time, yes. I mean, Ole Miss not only had to keep their starters in for most of the game, but played a physical team that beat them up. Mm-hmm. You know, if you go back and watch that game again, Arkansas was mashing them most of that game. And also from a mentality standpoint, you know, you get beat up like that, you lose that badly. It hits your confidence a little bit. So yeah, the scheduling last year was a problem. This year it's ULM, right? And isn't that who Ole Miss has?
Yes, ULM.
At least the teams are on equal footing, right? They're both playing a home game against a Sun Belt team.
We get this message. Why doesn't the Egg Bowl play on Black Friday? And because there are already college football games on that day anyway.
And as the guy points out, you'd have that's probably like the state semifinals or the North State and South State finals across the state. I mean, you got high school kids. You're not going to do that. Not in the South. Not here.
Ole Miss excuses. We lost the week before. BS. That is not why Ole Miss lost the game. So
they lost the game because Lane Kiffin was distracted because he was going to Auburn.
They lost the game because specifically they were really poor in the red zone. I mean, that would be my answer. And, of course, Mississippi State has something to say about that as well. But, no, I don't know what you heard, but it's not
17 tackles for loss is why they lost that game.
They got demolished
they couldn't run the football
up front.
Yeah.
I mean, Judkins was, for him anyway, Mississippi State shut him down as much as you could shut him down. I think, what did he have, 91 yards, but it was like 4 per carry. I mean, really kept him in check.
Yeah.
So, no, that's no. You are hearing things or deciding what you want to hear, I guess, because playing Arkansas was not why Ole Miss lost the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss lost the Egg Bowl because they lost the Egg Bowl.